This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome to a Monday edition of some Edmonton Oilers talk to get you through what is surely going to be a long week, right? Obviously, you know what? The Stanley Cup champion could be crowned tonight. The off season gets underway right away. Draft is December or October 6th. Oh my goodness, December 6th. I could dream. The winter would be half over. No, so October 6th, right? Obviously, we're getting closer and closer by the day here to things really getting underway. The bubble could burst, all this good stuff. And something I've been meaning to get to, but I've taken way too many off days to get to it, is the little rumors there, little tremors about Jake Debrusk and the Edmonton Oilers potentially joining forces. Of course, Jake Debrusk, if you don't know Louis Debrusk's kid, if you don't know Louis Debrusk, you don't know the Oilers, so why are you even asking the question? Um, that's a way of putting it lightly, I guess. He's an RFA, 23 years old, with the Boston Bruins currently. He's had, I think, from all accounts, if I've got it correct, he was stapled to the bench in a game against the Oilers at one point. If I've got my history of the 1920 season correct, and he had a down year. I guess that's an easy way to put it. He had a down year in which he ended up only finishing with 35 points, and realistically over the past two seasons before that, 43 in his rookie season, 42 in that season. So your third year in, you've put up back-to-back 40-point years, and then you drop a 35-point season in pretty much identical ice time to the season before, in which you put up 42. That is a rough go for a 23-year-old left-hand shot left winger. Now, problem is, like I said, he's an RFA, so obviously you're more than likely either sign and trade or trading for rights here to negotiate with Jake Debrusk on his RFA deal. And that is where it gets mighty interesting, because what do you do in terms of a trade in that situation? Well, he's coming off his entry-level contract, so probably looking for a payday. And like I said, two 40-point seasons and a 35-point season under his belt. And yeah, I don't know exactly. Arbitration is one more year required, so you're not going to get that fully out of him. So keep that in mind. But again, you qualify him and you're not getting much there. So you're looking more so for a raise after the 2015 14th overall pick in the first round. So again, A, you're giving up assets, and B, you're giving up cap space to sign a guy that, I mean, on the Oilers probably fits in right there in the top six. If you're looking for a winger for McDavid, that probably is where you go with that kind of deal. And I mean, there are probably Oilers fans out there that can fathom Jesse Puljujärvi and Jake Debrusk as the wingers for Connor McDavid next season. And I think a lot of people actually would be quite happy with that combo of wingers for McDavid. I think a lot of people would be very happy with that. However, let's break down some stats and maybe see what you think after the stats are broken down, because I think the stats support a move for Jake Debrusk, but I don't know fully if the story adds up here, if you can make the cap space work, the contract work, and of course a trade work for Jake Debrusk. Although, let me tell you, the stories Louis could tell you during the broadcast every night, they'd be good. 16 goals, 27 assists, went and flipped that around the next season in 18-19, 27 goals, 15 assists, and then pretty much evened out at 19 goals, 16 assists in 65 games here. The really interesting thing in the first four columns of stats is the fact that he has not played more than 70 games in an NHL campaign, so that's something to keep in mind there. He broke in at 21, which means he's worked his way up, that's for sure. And realistically, right, 120 points in 203 games played. So you break that down over the course of an 82 game season, right? So 120 divided by 203 times 82, 82 CPA, 82 career production average, 48.7 points. So you might as well pencil him down. If he plays 82 games in your lineup so far through his career, his 82 game career production is 49 points at the NHL level. That's pretty substantial when you're talking about Edmonton Oilers goal scoring and Edmonton Oilers point getting, because you go flip over to the Oilers.com website here and you kind of get the way of the land, would you? And you go 2019 2020 player stats, not the playoffs. We don't care about the playoffs. We care about the regular season for the sake of argument. We had 3 guys score more than 34 points this season. So right there, you're adding a top 4 scorer on the Edmonton Oilers, 82 CPA wise, when it comes to Jake Debrusk. So yes, the numbers add up. In terms of stats, he's a possession driver, always Corsi for as opposed to Corsi against, which means he's driving possession in the offensive zone more than he's driving possession in the defensive zone for the other team, which is good news for an Oilers team that needs to hem the puck in the offensive zone, especially for a guy that you would see in your top 6. And realistically, like, you look at the stats here on your screen, right? The guy shoots the puck relatively well for his amount of games. 161 divided by 65, 2.5 shots a game. Right there, you know what? You put him with McDavid. Yeah, sure. Then it goes up to 3-4. And then you're talking 19 goals going up to 25-30. Well, yeah. All of a sudden, we got something to cook with there. An 11.8 shooting percentage. The anomaly year is 17.3. So you settle in at 12% shooting percentage and knock those shots up closer to 185, 190. And suddenly, yeah, guys, we're talking goals on Connor McDavid's wing. But here's the thing. We can talk all night and day about how, this move on paper makes sense. This move makes sense. Oh, yeah, this, that, and the other thing. Unfortunately, the Boston Bruins have to want to make this move. That's number one. The Boston Bruins and Jake Debrusk have to come to a deal with the Edmonton Oilers to send him to Edmonton. So that's a lot of hoping and wanting. And I think really in my mind, a lot of this comes down to the Louis Debrusk connection more than it does actual hockey sense, because you look at the Oilers, they're currently, I believe, sitting now after things have kind of wrapped up here the last few days at $11.2 million in cap space. That's huge, because we're sitting at 10.5 all off season, but I think that's because we've got some guys on loan. Ideally, Gaetan Haas and Joachim Nygard, if that makes sense. I think that's where the money follows, and Patrick Russell, of course, but I'm not 100% sure how we gained that. I guess 700 in cap space. I guess it would probably be Patrick Russell, to be honest with you. But, right, so you're operating somewhere between 10 to $12 million in cap space at most at current. And what do you realistically trade for a guy? I'm not asking what Boston values Jake Debrusk at. I guess that's the question here, is because you got to look at it from the Boston perspective. What do the Oilers value Jake Debrusk at? And, well, I'm valuing him as a guy that you're probably plugging in the lineup to play with Connor McDavid. Now, if you're negotiating with a team and you're saying, hey, we're going to take this young guy from you, and we're going to give you this, and the team on the other end of the call is like, man, they're going to put him with Connor McDavid, we better actually do something right here so he doesn't start torching up 50 goals a season, well, suddenly the price goes up a little bit. I just realistically see that happening. Is if you're negotiating for a player that has the caliber to play with Connor McDavid, or within the roster confinement of the Edmonton Oilers has the caliber to play with Connor McDavid, you're definitely looking at the price of that player you're trading for going up. And I think, end of the day, like I said, it's more the Louis Debrusk connection than anything when it comes to Jake Debrusk and Edmonton Oilers rumors, but you just never know. I've seen it float enough times this offseason that there might be some fire to that smoke, and it could pull the trigger at the draft, anywhere. Remember, I think Jake Debrusk, was he a draft day trade too? 15th overall? I think so. Because the Bruins had one of those picks, right? Guys, it was a wild day. I was working. I was paying attention to work, doing some invoicing, but we made sure to get through that 2015 draft as well. And you know what? Right? Do you trade Andre Athanasiou and, I don't know, a prospect? Is that fair value? Is that too much value? Is Andre Athanasiou and straight up Jake Debrusk a good enough trade? Realistically, points-wise, average-wise over their careers, if I can pull up Athanasiou's stats here, you'd be talking pretty equivalent, actually. Right? Athanasiou had 54 points in 18-19, he had 33 points in 17-18, 29 points in 16-17, and 14 in 37. So you go 156 divided by 303, and then you multiply it by 82. You're talking about a guy that produces 42 points a season in an 82-game season. So, right? Oh, yeah, you know what? There's something to be said there. Athanasiou, I know everybody tries to drive home that he can play center. He does not play center well by any means from what I understand, but there's multiple ways, and I mean, is there really a fit there with the Boston Bruins and Andrei Athanasiou plus something or minus something or somewhere in the middle? I don't know. I probably couldn't tell you because honestly, the Boston Bruins, pretty solid team all the way around the wheel, right? So you look at it, what do they got for centers? They've got Par Lindholm, Sean Kuraly, Chris Wagner, Charlie Coyle, Patrice Bergeron, and David Krejci. So if you're taking Charlie Coyle, who's signed for the next 5 years at 5.25, and you're taking Patrice Bergeron, who's there at 6.875, and David Krejci, who's there at how many ever million for the next season, although I believe he only played 61 games last year. Is there a spot to really get good equitable value out of Athanasiou as a center? No, there's not. As a winger, probably. You can always find a use for a winger that has, once upon a time, scored 30 goals in an NHL season, i.e. the Montreal Canadiens and Ilya Kovalchuk. Just saying. So, right, there's a lot to be considered. Does it really make sense? To me, it doesn't. I think it's a lot more just that hometown connection, feel-good story kind of angle is what we're all going for here. But a guy that does have some skill and on the Oilers would be a top-line winger. He had more points last season than Zach Kassian, and Zach Kassian was a top-line winger, so logic follows, right? So I don't know. I'm going to let you guys debate it out, and I'm going to sit here and watch the comments and delete whatever needs to be deleted because people can't handle public debates without trying to take each other off the internet. I don't know how that says. But guys, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. I'm going to head on out of here, have supper, and we'll catch you a little bit later on. I'm up on out of here.